Please donate to our coffee account. Link below.
This is Van Miller, and this is America Happens.
I really felt that the family court was a place that should be open to the press.
Yeah.
Because it was sort of the dumping ground for morons and political hacks.
Stars aren't the people you see on the TV screen. Stars are the people fighting against all odds against tyranny and oppression. Billy O'Connor was raised on the rough streets of working-class London. He is a construction worker by trade who is taking on the most corrupt and repugnant institution in the Western world, the family law industry, which has become a genocide machine where children are stolen and trafficked and sold, with heartbroken parents who've had their children stolen committing suicide at an alarming rate, with an entire industry of corruptible social workers and criminal corporate family court judges operating in complete secrecy without a jury in these secret courts.
I hate it when I turn my phone on, I actually see another parent has lost their life the night before because they can't take what you've done to them.
Bridgie Rooney, by all reports, was a great mother that looked after her son with much love and care. But then social workers entered her life, took the child away from her, and so began a 2-year battle for her to win her child back from the family courts. After 2 years of fighting, she was notified that her son would be put up for forced adoption, and soon after, unable to deal with the unbearable pain, she took her own life.
It happens on a daily basis. There are people that have their children taken from them for no valid reason. From lies, because there's a large pot of money. Each child that is taken, there's a revenue of £30,000.
It's a $60 billion a year industry built upon child abuse, trauma, death, destruction, and the genocide of families and children.
You are robbing children from their parents, their right to know their family. That is what you're doing.
Every name on this dress is of a child that's been taken by social services for excuses like potential emotional future harm.
This idiotic law was created by none other than Tony Blair himself, or somebody who 86% of the UK public disapproves of.
So if you suffer domestic violence, they will use your previous domestic violence against you, saying potential future emotional harm. Just as much clout as going to the local card reader and asking them what your future is.
What are the forms of corruption?
I read the report about myself. Let's just say it didn't look like me, and I lost a lot of sleep over it. It's not just lies, it's the way they twist things.
If you've been in care, they will say potential future emotional harm. So what is so wrong with our care system that you come out of care and they re-victimise us and our children?
I suffer with PTSD, and the way they've twisted that is unreal.
Because I was in care, because I had a crappy childhood, you're going to be a crap parent, you can't parent.
Why do you suffer from PTSD?
See, my brother died when I was a youngster. I was 13 years of age.
They will go to those children now, well, you were removed, so you had trauma, so you can't parent, and it's a forever feeding cycle.
They'll use your trauma as a weakness to work their way into your family life.
I first learned about Billy O'Connor from videos of him as an activist, setting up his speakers in the most busy and affluent areas in London, England, to report the crimes against humanity happening in these family courts.
Can I get some people's attention, please? Because I would like to raise some serious awareness of the heinous crimes that are going on towards families in the UK.
Every month, Billy O'Connor and a community of parents who've had their children stolen gather, and they make a march from one side of central London to the other to the Central Family Courthouse, intentionally walking through neighborhoods where the wealthy shop, with a speaker blaring the message about how highly criminal and corrupt the entire family law industry has become.
Save our children! Save our children! Open up the family court! Open up the family court! Save our children! Save our children! Stop forced adoption! Stop forced adoption!
Social services are now run by corporate business, and they are stealing our children for billions of pounds a year.
On the adoption for a social worker, £2,000 or £4,000.
We researched the payment schemes for social workers and found that there has been leaks that show adoption targets being set for social workers, as well as market premium retention bonuses, welcome bonuses, multiple financial benefits, and a troubled families program where up to £4,000 is paid to identify and turn around troubled families, meaning ill-intentioned social workers have the financial incentive to fraudulently dub a family troubled using false allegations and fraudulent evidence in order to seek financial gain.
They took my grandchildren, they lied, they used a paedophile social worker who was running a paedophile ring for 50 years.
And I'm thinking, hold on a minute, all these parents can't be lying. There's got to be some truth in what people are saying.
1 minute they were there and the next minute they were gone.
And every one of them are saying they've manipulated it, twisted it to put them in a stronger position.
They are exploiting families for money.
It's about the money that they can make from stealing your children.
These parents are being persecuted.
I have a son at home. He's tried to commit suicide twice. He's a shell because of what you did to him. You're destroying families.
Just in the last decade, tens of thousands of parents have committed suicide because of what the family law industry has done to their lives. Charlotte Louise was targeted by social service workers with her child being taken away from her. She fought through the family courts to be back in her child's life, and a day after she lost her battle in court, she took her own life by hanging herself. This picture of her was drawn just a week before her suicide.
They know exactly what they're doing. They don't take the children that are at to be arrested.
Just in the last decade, thousands of children have been murdered because of family law corruption. Star Hobson, this lovely 16-month-old toddler, was the daughter of Jordan Hobson and Frankie Smith. Through systematic corruption within social services in Bradford City Council, Star was cruelly taken from those who loved her, her father Jordan, and her grandfather Andrew Smith, as well as many other concerned family members, and she was put in the hands of her negligent mother, Frankie Smith. Frankie Smith began having a same-sex relationship with Savannah Brockhill, a 28-year-old bouncer and boxer. Savannah Brockhill began abusing the child, literally using this child as a punching bag, and despite over at least 5 reports to social services in Bradford City Council made by her great-grandfather and the babysitter Holly Jones, who had evidence in the form of videos and pictures that showed serious bruises on the body of the toddler, all these reports were ignored by Bradford City Council, as the mother Frankie Smith and her bouncer girlfriend claimed that the reports were made due to malicious discrimination against their same-sex relationship. Bradford City Council, under the guidance of Mark Douglas, spent a measly 1 hour interviewing Frankie Smith and Savannah Brockhill about this abuse before dropping the case. The child, Star Hobson, during this meeting was so dazed that she ran into the couch, yet the social workers completely ignored the signs of abuse. Rather than protect the child, social service workers accused the family of being malicious in making these reports of child abuse. On the last day of this toddler's life, Star Hobson was beat so badly by Savannah Brockhill that a main artery ruptured in her body and she bled to death, while her mother Frankie Smith stood by and did nothing. As the verdict was read, Savannah Brockhill smiled, and reports have been made that since then she has bragged about burying 3 more babies. The grandfather of Star Hobson, Andrew Smith, took his own life after sending a card to his daughter's prison cell which read, "You look after yourself and I'll look after the baby."
They take children from families that have done nothing wrong.
You're supposed to protect children, but what you're actually doing is you're taking them away. They're being killed within your care. Children that are being brought up by families with good upbringing, those children are more desirable than children that are wayward. How many have died within your care?
Elsie Scully Hicks was taken from her biological family. The biological grandmother of the toddlers had revealed that she fought hard to keep the little girl, and that there were many other loving members in the family that could have taken care of the child, including the grandparents, brothers, sisters, aunts, and uncles. Rather, the social worker forced this unnecessary adoption to Craig Scully Hicks, and for 8 months that Elsie lived with the couple, his husband Matthew Scully Hicks beat the child regularly. Elsie needed medical treatment on numerous occasions while in the care of Matthew Scully Hicks. In November 2015, the child was seen by a general practitioner as she could not bear weight on her leg. An x-ray found that she had a fractured leg. In December 2015, she suffered a large bruise on her forehead. In May 2015, she was described as vomiting after falling through stair gates. Despite the list of injuries, Scully Hicks' explanation that these were just accidents were accepted by health professionals who lacked professional curiosity. 13 separate reports or more were made, and 8 different agencies were involved in these reports of abuse. The social workers felt that Matthew Scully Hicks, the child's abuser, was well educated and articulate. Hence, they closed all investigations. Elsie Scully Hicks was murdered in May 2016 when she was only 18 18 months old. No social workers have been disciplined or sacked over the mistakes because it was quote-unquote not appropriate.
And I couldn't believe what I was finding out after looking in and digging in so deep.
They use us as the small people to build up their empire.
I've never during this period of 9 years been actually found guilty of a crime.
And all this is owned by hedge fund bankers, people who have nothing to do with children. It's all about the money.
And it is this whole process that will actually have 12 of your peers sit there. You've got nothing to hide. You turn around and say, I want 12 of my peers to hear what's been going on to my family and me.
There's 2 children that have been murdered by family members in the last few weeks. The Home Secretary has stood up in Parliament and made this the excuse for taking more children.
Arthur Hughes loved superheroes, watching soccer, and he loved reading. He had an incredible smile and was loved by those who knew him. But his stepmother and father tortured him, beat him, starved him, and deprived this beautiful boy of water while lacing the food with salt to make it uneatable. His grandmother had raised concerns on many occasions about the multiple deep bruises on the child's back. So had the school that Arthur went to. However, social workers did nothing to stop the abuse to Arthur, despite being notified on at least 4 separate occasions about this abuse. Social workers allowed Arthur to be systematically removed from the lives of those who loved and cared for him most, especially his grandmother, who had not seen the child for over a year by the time the child was murdered by his stepmother. The following is some very disturbing audio of Arthur just hours before he was tortured to the point of murder by his stepmother. Sadly, there are many such stories across the Western world. Thousands of children murdered because of the negligence of social workers.
And they are using these children for their agenda of taking the children. They're all corrupt.
They have been around everything the generations have taken away for. Through my grandparents alone, certainly the Second World War. Family court, there ain't no family about it. It's all about the money.
How much longer is this fight gonna go, Billy?
To the day I die. Until it changes or the day I die. My last breath.